94-year-old black veteran gets harassed by bikers when she makes a phone call. They turn pale. It was a humid afternoon in the small town of Greenhaven, known mostly for its dusty roads and a single main street lined with family-run shops. The day moved lazily until the distant roar of engines cut through the quiet. A group of bikers clad in black leather jackets bearing menacing patches cruised down the road in a thunder of engines and crashed laughter. At the far end of Main Street stood a petite 94-year-old black woman named Georgina Morgan. She had come to the local post office to pick up her weekly mail despite her age. She carried herself with a certain quiet dignity, a dignity she had earned through decades of service and sacrifice. Few people in town realized that Georgina had been a war hero, enlisting in the Woman's Army Corps in her youth, forging a path at a time when most doors were closed to people who looked like her. She was leaning on her cane carefully, adjusting the strap of her handbag when the bikers roared into view. They parked haphazardly in front of the old diner, just a few yards away from where Georgina stood, the largest of the group. A man with a wild beard and a sneer set into his weathered face glanced at Georgina and let out a mocking chuckle. Something about seeing an elderly black woman in a small, mostly white town with such composure seemed to rankle him. His name was Blade, or so said the bowl patch on his vest. He pointed at Georgina, turning his companions with a twisted grin. "Would you look at that?" he said, loud enough for her to hear. "Must be a little lost. Grandma all alone out here." Georgina kept her chin high, eyes forward. She faced worse than name-calling, but the men spread out, blocking her path with casual arrogance. Another biker sporting a half-shaved head stepped forward. "Hey, Granny, we don't see your kind around here much," he drawled. "Got something to say?" She paused, scanning their faces. None looked friendly, though some averted their eyes, uncertain if this was the right path to intimidation. Georgina gripped the handle of her cane tighter, her knuckles going white. She decided not to let fear show in her voice. "I'm just on my way. Please let me pass." Blade threw his head back in an exaggerated laugh. "Oh, how polite, but not so fast. Don't you think you should say excuse me to your betters?" A few townsfolk paused on the sidewalk, sensing tension in the air. Some recognized Georgina, though not everyone realized her full story, her military service, her accolades hidden away in dusty boxes. She'd never made a fuss about them. The townsfolk who did know her either felt unsure how to intervene or were too stunned to move. "Move, please." Georgina repeated, her voice calm but resolute. "I'm heading home. Better watch your tone." Blade hissed, stepping in front of her. "We run this stretch of road now. If I say you wait, you wait." A swirl of conflicting emotions rose in Georgina's chest. She marched across battlefields, braved horrors no one her age should have. She'd come home after the war to find prejudice alive and well, yet she carried on now in her twice light years. She found herself staring down a group of bullies. Again, one of the bikers tried to push her lightly with his foot, testing her reaction. "Got that, Granny?" She wobbled, using her cane to regain balance. For a flicker of a second, anger sparked in her eyes. She took a slow, measured breath. She could reason with them or try to find a way out, but at her age, escaping physically was not feasible. She realized she had another option. Her trembling fingers went to her coat pocket where her phone lay. She flipped it open. She never quite got used to smartphones and tapped a single speed dial number. The phone rang twice, and then a man's voice answered. Georgina's voice was soft yet urgent. "I'm sorry to bother you, Colonel. It's Georgina. I need help." A hush seemed to settle over the immediate area. The bikers watched with amusement, evidently unafraid of whomever she might be calling as she's calling her. Caretaker, AK, one joked, and the group chuckled, but Georgina offered no more words to them, only murmuring into the phone, "Yes, exactly at the corner near the old diner. Thank you. She flipped the phone closed and tucked it away. The man smirked, apparently unimpressed. Blade snorted. Who is that your grandkid going to come and wave a cane at us? Another peal of laughter broke out across the street. More townspeople gathered, a mixture of curiosity and concern in their eyes. A local policeman emerged from the hardware store, stepping forward uncertainly. The big group of bikers, seeing him, made a point to puff out their chests, but the policeman just frowned, unsure how to handle the intimidation. These bikers had a reputation for aggression. He hesitated, hoping not to spark an all-out confrontation. Georgina, ignoring the policeman's indecision, calmly turned to Blade. You made a mistake thinking I'm alone, she said simply. Something in her eyes made even the toughest men shift uncomfortably, yet Blade refused to be cowed. Oh yeah, he growled, you got an army hidden in your coat pocket, old lady. Then, leaning closer, he bared his stained teeth. We don't care if you don't show respect. We'll teach you a lesson. The engines of the biker's motorcycle still clicked with residual heat, silent but foreboding, as if the machines themselves were waiting for trouble. Blade grabbed Georgina's cane as if to yank it away and leave her defenseless. She tightened her grip. You're going to regret this, she said quietly, so please walk away now. He laughed again, yanking on the cane. Georgina let out a small cry, stumbling. The crowd gasped. The local policeman finally moved in, but the other bikers blocked him. Hold up, officer, one said menacingly. We're just having a talk. Before the scuffle could escalate further, a sound rumbled down the street. The roar of a convoy of vehicles, sleek black SUVs and a vintage army jeep leading them. The vehicle screeched to a halt in front of the diner. The doors flew open and out stepped a group of uniformed men and women, some in army fatigue, some in plain clothes, but sporting a definite military bearing. A tall figure stepped forward, a colonel's insignia visible on his uniform. His face was etched with determination. Another man beside him, just as imposing, was a decorated Vietnam War vet. Word had gotten around Georgina's call had traveled through a network of old war buddies, connected by decades of loyalty to each other. They had arrived in force. At the sight of them, the bikers tensed. The colonel's voice rang out firm and commanding. Step away from Miss Morgan right now. The authority in his tone left no doubt that these were not random do-gooders. They carried themselves like trained professionals who had seen real conflict. Blade's eyes flitted from Georgina to the colonel to the row of men and women behind him. He saw the discipline in their stance, the cold confidence in their expression. Sweat beaded on his brow. What's all this, he snarled, trying to sound tough. The colonel ignored him for a moment, rushing to Georgina's side. Miss Morgan, are you all right? Georgina nodded, a relieved smile crossing her face. Yes, I am now. The colonel turned back to the biker's eyes, hard as steel. This woman is a 94-year-old war veteran, served as in segregated unit overseas, risked her life for her country, and you want to harass her in my watch? That's not going to happen. The line of ex-military behind him advanced slightly, their posture unwavering. They didn't raise fists or brandish weapons, but the silent promise in their stance was more intimidating than any threat. A murmuring spread among the crowd. People realized who Georgina was, a war hero recognized quietly by the government but never seeking attention. The policeman, finding new courage, stepped forward. You heard the colonel move. Blade and the other bikers faltered. They were outnumbered not just by the crowd but by a disciplined group of trained individuals. The bravado that fueled them moments ago wilted one by one. They stepped back from Georgina. Dropping there, he stands. Georgina locked eyes with Blade. She tilted her chin up. I gave you a chance to walk away, she said softly. You didn't listen. The colonel nodded to the policeman. The cop then mustered confidence to say, all right, you're leaving now or face arrest. for assaulting Miss Morgan Blade's face. Turned pale, he spat on the ground a last. Feeble sign of rebellion, but realized he had no choice, muttering curses under his breath. He signaled his group, the bikers, clambered onto their motorcycles' engines, revving, and in a noisy retreat sped off. Down the road none of them met. Georgina's eyes, silence reigned in the aftermath. The tension evaporated, replaced by relief. Onlookers exhaled. Collectively, the policeman radioed a statement explaining the bikers had fled. The colonel's team slowly relaxed, approaching Georgina to check on her. "You sure you're okay, Miss Morgan?" the colonel asked, gently help her brush dust off her coat. She nodded, face calm. "I'm a bit rattled, but not a scratch beyond this." She pointed to a minor scuff on her. "Can't I owe you and your people a huge thanks?" The colonel saluted her. "Out of respect, we do anything for you. Your bravery paved the way for so many of us. We're just returning the favor." Georgina's eyes, wet slightly, she'd rarely allowed herself tears, but the gratitude and relief swelled too strong. She patted the colonel's hand. "You all saved me. I'm honored." In the crowd, someone called out, "Miss Morgan, we never knew you served. You're a hero." Applause began, a spontaneous tribute to the quiet veteran who had faced bigger battles than any local tough guys. Georgina pressed her lips together, humility shining through. With the crisis ended, people dispersed, whispering about the day's events, about Georgina's hidden history, about how the Biges bikers turned pale when they realized her powerful network. The colonel offered Georgina a ride home, but she declined with a gentle laugh. "I can drive. I might be old, but I'm not helpless." She climbed into her sedan. The colonel and a few of his companions formed an informal escort. Everyone marveled at her composure, no trembling, hands on the steering wheel, just steady, calm. After Georgina pulled away, the colonel regrouped with his team, praising their swift response. The policeman who'd been uncertain earlier thanked them, clearly relieved the situation hadn't exploded into violence.